You finally get an hour in the shop and you work really hard for that whole time. And then when you're done, it feels like nothing really got done. The project's still sitting there unfinished. The mistakes are all certainly still there. And it's easy to think to yourself, maybe woodworking just doesn't fit in my life anymore. It's not a skill problem, it's about how you define progress when time in the shop is broken into these short, uneven chunks. Short time in the shop doesn't feel bad because of the length of time, it's because it's really hard to gauge progress. You were busy, you were focused, and you were doing real work, but there's no defining point where you can look at something and go, that part is done. So instead of leaving the shop feeling settled, you leave it replaying what you wish you had done differently or what you want to get to next time, and wondering whether or not that hour even counted. Earlier on, woodworking felt simpler. Progress was obvious. There was these long stretches of uninterrupted time, and you could start something and move it forward and sort of see that progress every single time. Even if the work wasn't perfect, you could feel the momentum. But life changes and time gets tighter, weekends fill up, evenings get shorter, and slowly over time, the environment begins to shift, but your way of working doesn't. For a long time, I kept trying to work the way I used to, and it quietly stopped working. When progress starts feeling scattered, the explanation feels obvious. You assume you don't have enough skill, or maybe if you had better tools, things would just finally click. But those explanations never lined up with the way that time started to work in my life. I wasn't failing and feeling frustrated because I lacked skill, though there's a lot of skills that I lack. It was because my time was broken up and I was pretending it wasn't. Once I noticed that, everything made a lot more sense. I wasn't finishing things cleanly anymore. I was stopping mid-process. I was starting again, and it felt like I had to constantly get my bearings over and over and over. And then I was judging the results based on the old standard I had when my time was more whole. That gap between how my time used to feel in the shop and how it feels now is where most of my frustration was coming from. Things changed when I finally learned to stop asking, how much work can I cram into this hour? And started asking, what kind of work actually fits here? Not all work behaves the same way. Some tasks hate being interrupted, like finishing. Some things are a lot easier to stop midway and come back to next time. And other things don't look productive at all, but they make it easier the next day, the next week, or whenever I'm back in the shop. I learned that I didn't need to push harder, I needed to adjust what progress looks like. There are nights where all I do is set up a jig, not even to use it, but to have it ready for the next day. Other times I'll prep stock on the weekend when I know I won't get back to it for days or weeks. And sometimes an entire hour just goes into resetting the shop so that it feels good and productive when I get in here next time. None of that feels impressive or like making major progress, but it dramatically improves my workflow and how things feel in the shop. At some point, I learned to stop judging progress one day at a time. Progress became something that I could only notice in hindsight, days or weeks later. Days still felt small and momentum could feel pretty quiet, but projects started moving again. Not because the time was bigger, but because the individual times in the shop were better connected. And that's when a lot of my self-doubt went away and my confidence started coming back. Once I stopped needing every hour to feel like a win, woodworking fit into my life a lot more easily again. As we head into a new year, I guess ultimately the point of this video is just to say that if this is a season of life that you're in too, you're not alone and it's okay. Even if progress is slow, you're still building your skills and you're still improving as a woodworker. If this resonated with you, check out some more of my videos about how I work in my shop. Otherwise, I hope you all have a happy new year and I'll see you in 2026.